You're listening to the Table Talk with your host, Anthony Irvin, aka Spoken Life. Tune in every other Thursday starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with me and a new special guest live on Facebook and Twitch. Without further ado, let's start the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Table Talk. My name is Anthony Irvin, aka Spoken Life, your host. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching at a later time, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you haven't yet, please give this a like, a share, follow, subscribe, anywhere you're watching this show. Thank you to all the listeners that have been, watching and listening, whether it be the video or the actual podcast versions of the show. Really appreciate the support, and it really helps out the channel so much. We have an awesome guest tonight, and this is another guest who actually came to me about a month ago. He is a guitarist in a band that we will get to in just a few minutes, and they had a new EP come out recently, and he gave me a listen to their stuff, and I really digged it, and I really wanted to get them on the show to talk a little bit more about their album and the band itself. But before we get into that, let's get into a little bit of business here. If you guys want more content, Patreon is where to go. Make sure to become a patron today by going to patreon.com/table_talk, where you can get all the exclusive content from the show, outside of the show, including bonus footage, which will be available right after this show tonight. If you're watching at a later time, it is already out, so make sure you go subscribe if you're interested to go check out that bonus footage from tonight's episode. You'll be able to get access to audio and video downloads and some private live streams from me. You'll be part of the private Table Talk community. So we have a wonderful Table Talk community over there. I want to give a shout out to my Patreons, Bernadette, Dave, and Mary. Thank you all for being so supportive on the Patreon. You guys help me run this show with so many ideas and support. Can't thank you guys enough. And also for anybody who is also thinking of another way to help out the channel, I do have a Facebook group. It's actually Table Talk Community. So you guys can search that on Facebook, search Table Talk Community, and go join it. And that's where we usually post a lot of upcoming guests. We'll post some of the, audio clips, and, I'll post a lot of the Patreon stuff that you can have links to in case you did want to sign up. You won't get access to the Patreon, but some of the posts from the Patreon links will be on there, so you can get access to that if you don't want to go searching for it. So Facebook.com and search Table Talk Community, guys. And again, if you're watching this on another time, make sure you're subscribing, following us on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. It really helps out the show with, being able to go up the charts and everything. So make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts as well, showing how much you love the show. And if not, share with a friend who you think would really dig the show. It really means a lot. So, guys, let's get into our special guest tonight. We have a very fun guy that I had an awesome time being able to meet the other night. So I think you guys are going to dig this episode. So let's welcome Steve Scott from the band the Word66. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Anthony. How's it going, bud?
Good. How are you doing, Steve? Thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. By the way, it's the Word66.
The Word. What did I say? World?
You said the World66.
The World. So the Word66. Sorry about that, everybody. 66.
Hey,
and I was even saying it wrong earlier in the week too. I was saying the Word66. So I was like, until I saw your Twitter handle, I'm like, okay, they go 66, not 66.
It depends. I mean, we're the Word66, but the Word66 is fine as well.
How did the band name come about, by the way?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. A lot of people don't know this, but there are actually 66 books in the Bible. And we're a Christian rock band, in case anybody doesn't know. And the Bible's the Word, so we are the Word66.
There you go. Yeah, and the band has been going strong for how many years?
Just about a year now, actually.
Good.
Well, we put our first EP out. It's been close to about a year now, but the band got together, or we started putting it together about 2018, I would say.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. And so you were saying that you just released a brand new EP. What's the name of that again?
It's the title track, and it's called "On the Way to the Promised Land."
Yes, I do gotta say that was my favorite track when I was listening to it. It has a good upbeat feel to it. I really like that one.
Yeah, it was the one that we put out first, and it's the one that kind of put us on the map
Uh
ish.
huh. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and it's unfortunate I don't have the whole band with you tonight, but I'm still glad to have you on. And how about with everything we just talked about? How about for anybody that doesn't know the band? Why don't you give a little bit of background about the band?
okay, so as mentioned, we're a Christian rock band. And in case you're not familiar what that means, basically it's just, we're like any other band, any other hard rock, heavy metal kind of band. The only difference is that we have positive lyrics in our
Mm-hmm.
music. So we've been getting like a lot of reviews and stuff like that too from people that are not necessarily into the whole Christian thing, but
Uh
they
huh.
dig what we're doing, they dig our sound, and they basically say, just kind of listen with an open mind, and you'll dig the tracks. And so
Right.
we've been getting a ton of airplay on actually, I would say the majority of the airplay that we're getting all over the world is non-Christian.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also were you were mentioning that we have a little something in common, that we both have something in common with Bongo Boy Records. You guys
Yes.
had just actually put one of the songs out on one of their compilation CDs, so that was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. They have a compilation CD out called Crip Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have one of the tracks on there. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's a pretty cool CD.
Yeah, yeah, man. And so I know it's on Spotify, but where else can people find it?
Good question. Our music is everywhere. I mean, you can find it on, Spotify and Apple and, Deezer and all those kind of places. And of course, YouTube, and check out
Uh-huh.
the videos and stuff. But I'm not sure exactly where that compilation is.
Yeah, we would have to kind of get in contact with the label. See, I know usually with their compilation CDs, they usually put it out in the U.S. and international sometimes. So it definitely goes out to a lot of people, and they do a lot of promotion in the opening weeks and months to it too. So they do a good amount of promotion. I was on their volume 9 blues compilation CD that came out last year, and that actually did pretty well too. I think they do a lot of blues inspired music as well. So I was really glad to have my latest single on that, and that was the first one that I released on Bongo Boy Records since 2015. So it was almost like a return to the label for me from them. So that was really cool to have them be able to put that on their compilation CD.
Yeah, it's been a good experience so far.
Yeah, yeah. And, shout out to Monique if she is actually watching or watching later, and shout out
Yes.
to the whole
Hello,
family of
Monique.
Bongo Boy. Hello to the whole Bongo Boy family. So,
Yes. Hello, Monique and the Bungle Boy family. Yes.
absolutely. So, who are the other members of the band, Steve?
So we got Dave Murray on drums, and Brian Torres is bass and vocals.
Good, good. And so you're the guitar player. How many years have you been playing guitar? And did you have bands before, or this is like the kind of first band you put together?
Oh man, I've been in quite a few different bands, and I've been playing probably since I was, I don't know, about 15, 16, I would say,
Nice.
a couple of years ago.
A couple
And
years. Just a few.
it's amazing how time flies, man.
Woo.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But actually, the first instrument I ever played was the trumpet, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It was like when I was growing up, my parents they had sitting around, they had a trumpet and a clarinet.
Hmm.
And they were like, so which one do you want to play?
That's awesome. Like you have a little bit of a variety. So like, okay, we have all this out for you, and pick your poison.
Yeah, not exactly the greatest of choices in my opinion, but I started to play the trumpet, and
Hmm.
I wasn't very good at it. I just for some reason. So
Yeah.
I wanted to play guitar, so I learned to play guitar, and I've been in quite a few bands along the way, and I'm very proud to say that I've played with some players that have gone on to play with some really big bands, some
Very nice.
major acts.
Nice. That's always good to have, that little repertoire in you too. So, what actually got you into playing guitar? Was there like a moment that made you, or like somebody you were inspired by who plays guitar? You're like, oh, I want to start doing that, or is it just like the simplest that you saw it and you're like, let's give it a try?
Ever since I was a little kid, probably I don't know, 9 years old or something like that. That's all I ever wanted to do was
Really?
be like a guitarist, a lead guitarist.
Uh huh.
And because you listen to solos, and it's great. The feeling that they have when you're jamming and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had this moment. I remember this funny little story. I had a neighbor that lived across the street from me, and he played a little bit of guitar, and you would hear him sometimes. He had his amp turned up, and he'd be playing some solos. He
Right.
was halfway decent, and I was just kind of I wasn't that great, but I thought it was okay. I thought I could jam with this guy, and I remember
Yeah.
running into him. And saying, "Hey, man, let's get together and jam." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, sure." It was
Yeah.
a little bit younger than I was, and I remember, I think I just brought like an acoustic guitar, and I brought
Hmm.
some music books with me
Yeah.
and stuff. And we sat down, and he made me feel really stupid. He was really so much more advanced than I was.
Right.
And I got to say that was probably a turning moment in my life musically.
Uh huh.
Because I remember leaving that house going like, "Wow, I really suck." And and then I went on this little binge, man. I kind of locked myself away for a while, and I was practicing like literally like 10 to 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And I just played and played and played for a long time,
Uh huh.
and just developed my skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like a common thing with a lot of like guitar players that they used to have that moment where like, okay, I mean, I would lock myself in the room for hours and try to play this riff until I got it into perfection and stuff. And I think especially I think a lot of guitarists can say is we're pretty big perfectionists when it comes to playing a lot of things, and just that you'll play it until there's no like error in it at all. And even when you're playing it, there's always some type of error you can get through. But it's cool to just sit back every once in a while and not really think about like, oh well, I have to practice, but you're just just sitting there noodling around, and then all of a sudden, like with that, you just start getting some type of idea that comes up in your head, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you start getting like some songwriting ideas in your head, and then you start putting that to pen to paper, and it's the little triggers in your head as you become more comfortable with playing guitar, and then you start getting your own feel for it, and then as you're listening to a lot of different guitarists in general, I mean, that's where you kind of obviously get your tone and your style of play, and it's really cool to there's never just one person that has like the same track. There's always a different level of like, okay, I went through this stage, and then I went to this, and then I got here. So I always like talking to different when I'm talking to guitarists. I like to see their journey that got them to where they are today with how they progressed through their early guitar years.
Yeah, the writing process is amazing, man. I mean, like you said, like, you're just kind of noodling around and all of a sudden, something just pops in your head and you go like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, that's really cool.
Right.
And for me, my cell phone is like my writing buddy,
Yes.
because, a lot of times you just come up with this riff and you won't remember it. It's kind of like it's something that just happens, just like this. And you go, and if you don't capture that moment,
Uh-huh.
it's gone, usually
I'll forget
forever.
it. I'll
Oh,
forget
oh,
it.
oh yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah.
100%.
So I pull out my cell phone and I just get these little riffs, man, and I've got like a ton of them on my cell phone. So there's probably like, I don't know, who knows, an album or two
Yeah.
on there now,
And it's cool to kind of see your progress, like, as you keep on writing songs and songs after songs. I can tell you right now, like, I'm slowly starting to look at a lot of my older music, and I'm like, wow, from what I'm writing now to what I used to, it's like night and day. And it's then you can kind of just see your progress, and then it's like to the point. Sometimes you can go back on those old songs and you find one that's like, oh, okay. I mean, I was just like, I needed this little bit, and that could have been like something. And then, maybe you just change like a little section of it. And you're like, okay, now I can probably relearn this, and maybe I'll put it back into my set.
I remember the first song I wrote. It was called Gladiator, and I thought that was a cool song, but now excuse me, when you look back at it,
Uh-huh.
you go like, wow, that was kind of rough, it was kind of really wasn't that great of a song. And then, like you said, I've got some stuff that I've written so many years ago, and that it's possible it could wind up on a record, changing things, of course, because, back at that time, I wasn't what you would call like a Christian rocker.
Yeah.
So we just make a few tweaks and change some lyrics and a couple of little things. But there was some decent stuff back then that,
Yeah.
could possibly, you know, come out sometime.
Yeah. And being that you guys are a Christian rock band, I'm sure just like anybody, I'm sure you guys just don't listen to just, Christian inspired music. I mean, what other type of bands do you guys usually listen to get inspired for songwriting?
I listen to a lot of stuff, besides I do listen to Christian stuff. So I listen to
Uh-huh.
some hard Christian rock. I listen to some contemporary Christian rock. A lot of times I have the radio on in the background.
Uh-huh.
Usually it's the Christian contemporary station, which is great when I'm in the other rooms. But actually, when I'm in my office, then I have another radio on, which is usually some harder stuff. Or to be honest with you, I like to listen to some of the stations that play us, all the
Uh-huh.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I also I like your Godsmack and your Disturbed and
Uh-huh.
Shinedown is probably one of my favorite bands as
Yeah.
well. Love those guys. 3 Days Grace,
Mm-hmm.
Seven Dust,
Oh,
all
yeah.
those kind of bands. And then I like jazz, man.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to sometimes I listen to smooth jazz. I'll listen to acid jazz,
Hmm.
which I think is really cool. And
I don't think I've
some
heard of acid jazz before. I'll have to look up a band of that genre. It seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, maybe after the show, I'll give you a few names that you could just kind of type in and
Sure.
then let them find some other stuff for you.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
it's a pretty cool genre, man. And then, sometimes I like the what they call adult contemporary stuff as well, and that could be like Coldplay and
Hmm.
and Train and Maroon 5 and Peter Gabriel, you
Uh-huh.
know, all that kind of stuff as well. I listen to some EDM every now and then,
Hmm.
which I think is pretty cool. A lot of it sounds the same,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of cool sometimes when I'm in that kind of mood.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Godsmack with Metallica years ago. I think back when I was in high school, and I think they were coming on. They were just when they were coming back from the Saint Anger days, and they had I think it was Machine Head and Godsmack, I think because I've seen Metallica 3 times. I think the first time I saw them with Godsmack, second time I saw them with Machine Head, and then the third time is when they had their latest album out, and they had Avenged Sevenfold with them. But unfortunately,
Nice.
Sinister Gates, he had to leave the tour like the day of the Philadelphia gig because he had just had his second kid, I think. Second or third, so they had to drop off the show, and I hadn't seen Avenged Sevenfold in years, and I was really looking forward to Metallica, but I was so stoked for Avenged Sevenfold because Avenged Sevenfold was our biggest influence of my band, my first band, Original Sins. We were very heavily inspired by the harmonic guitar playing and, heavy riffage, because they reminded us of Metallica. They're like I would feel, and I think they've gotten the brand of like the new age Metallica in a way. So I haven't listened to a lot of their newer stuff, but when they brought out City of Evil, that was like it for me. We was like, oh my God, this is like the best album ever, and we wanted to learn it. We wanted to just sit down, just like we were saying earlier. We want to sit down and diagnostic and go through and try to learn as much as we could with it. But unfortunately, they couldn't play that night, and then they were actually going on tour in New Jersey, I think a couple months later, and they said that the tickets would be honored for that show, but I unfortunately couldn't make that show either. So I was like, okay, well, either way, I'm not seeing Avenged Sevenfold, but Metallica killed it that night, so it made the night, just that much better. So it was good.
One of my favorite drummers, man, in that band.
Which one is that? Metallica or Avenged Sevenfold?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah. R.I.P. Rev. He was a fantastic drummer.
Well, I'm a big Portnoy fan myself.
And is that the new drummer?
I think he might be the newest drummer. Yeah.
Have they confirmed that they have a new drummer, or are they still having like some guy just sit in and he's just kind of there? I mean, I haven't really checked up with the latest news with them, but I know they've kind of. I don't think they've really confirmed from what I know, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Right, yeah. But, I mean, hey, they still sound just as good. I mean, it's unfortunate with what happened, but, especially with tragic things that happen to a band like that, and you have a very inspired musician that has that type of sound for that band, it's kind of hard to find somebody that will fill that. And kind of, it's always hard when somebody leaves a band that's very, heavily inspired by the sound of that band. And when that guy leaves, it's like, okay, it can be any part of a band, a drummer, guitar player, bass player, even a singer is the most biggest, because that's like your front man. So if you have a different singer, sometimes it takes a little bit for people to kind of get used to the new vibe, because if you're so used to a band, of the singer singing a certain way, and then, you have to get used to a new vibe with it too. So
yeah, and some singers, which I could say about Brian in our band, he's got a different sound. He sounds, he doesn't sound like many other vocalists out there. So it's a good thing, because when you hear that voice, you know what band it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always fun to, have a sound like that is unique to that band, kind of like, just like Metallica. Nobody sings like James Hetfield, so whenever you hear that from that's James Hetfield,
Right.
So but going on another aspect that just came to my mind, you had put out the album about a year and a half, you were saying?
About almost a year ago, around a year.
So have you guys played any gigs, or did the pandemic kind of take that from the fact you guys were, I guess you were thinking about playing some shows and the pandemic hit and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, when we were getting ready to go into the studio is just about the time that the pandemic was announced,
Gotcha.
and so that totally derailed our plans for
Yeah.
quite a while. And we didn't want to get together. We didn't want to play. We didn't want to even be around each other,
Mm.
for like a long time. So we kind of just stopped,
Right.
cold for a while, and then we just figured it was, we were gonna, you know, chance it and
Yeah.
go into the studio and get some stuff done. So we figured while the pandemic was going on, at least we can get some tunage out there, and people can hopefully get to know the band a little bit in the meantime.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely been hard as a solo musician. Bands too, because everybody has to find creative ways to continue to keep their fans happy and keep their band out in the open, because you can't be out on the road, you can't be out and putting your faces in front of people. So people have been finding and a lot of my favorite bands have started doing virtual live streams, which is the next best thing. And some of them have gotten better production values than others, and they make you feel like you're at the show. I know our local Pennsylvania band that within my metal range, a band called August Burns Red. They're from the Lancaster area, and they usually do a Christmas show up at what was once the Chameleon Club. And I think the last, December 2020, they did a virtual Christmas show, and I forgot where they set it up, but it was in a big open space, and they had all the Christmas decorations, decorated their amps and everything, and made it seem like their Christmas show. And they had the, top quality, video production and everything. It was really cool. And, then you have like other bands that are, trying to do, the same things, but then, trying to just, and I was telling a lot of people there's going to be a big boom already, but a big boom of music that's going to come out of this stuff too, because a lot of bands that are not on the road, they're just going to be writing. There's nothing much more to do unless you're just going to try to go get a job at that point to really, try to survive. But then again, if music is your full-time thing, you might as well just, write, because, that's the next best thing to do.
Funny thing is that during the pandemic, man, I really didn't do a whole lot of writing.
Really?
I can't really say that I did. Just somewhat, but not like a lot of. I probably should have written a lot more tunes, but
Hmm.
but didn't. I don't know, man. It just didn't. I don't know. Just didn't feel the motivation for it.
Really? Yeah. The first couple months, I had a lot of inspiration to write, and then it just kind of trickled down. And plus, I was in the middle of my wife was pregnant, and we were, months out from having our first son. And, so the first couple months, it was like, just, I was off for a couple weeks. So, okay, either, write, sit back and watch TV, have a beer, so you're thinking about what you're going to do. So I had written, I think, 2 or 3 songs. So I'm like, all right, I mean, see what this is going to do. I'm still sitting on those ideas too. But, it's just like, you kind of have to fill your space with what you can. And I know, especially since I was playing 3 and 4 gigs a month usually, and then it just got down to 0. And when you're used to doing that, and then you just go and it just stops cold turkey, it was like really hard, because I love performing. I love being out in front of people and performing. But then it just got to being able to perform virtually downstairs in my basement. And, it was cool for the first couple months, because you're still getting that, okay, you're still performing, but, after a while, you're like, okay, I'm getting tired of, like, these hand emoji claps and everything, and, like, I want to be in the presence of a crowd and everything. And, it was like 8 months without playing a gig. And it was the longest 8 months that I've ever had. And usually, I mean, before I was, out of the band thing and before I started doing solo stuff, it was a couple years before I started playing shows again, and I would be going out to shows myself and I would be watching the bands. I'm like, wow, I really miss it up there. I wish I was up there. And because it's always been like, if I go too long without, performing, I start getting like that itchy feeling like I need to perform something. So
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the sporting events that they had with the cardboard cutouts.
yeah, that was so weird. I mean, it was just like, I understand because it kind of makes you seem like there's people there, but like some of the things were funny because, you had like the picture of like the baby in the crowd and with like glasses and stuff. That was funny. But then like after seeing that for, a couple months, like, okay, I need to see like real people back there now.
Right. And it had all these famous people in the cutouts as well, too. So,
yeah.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and for news people, I mean, what can you do? I mean, the biggest thing you had to report was, the pandemic stuff. But after a while, and thankfully now it's I guess somewhat under control. We seem like we're getting out of the hole, and it seems like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But we still have a little bit of work to do. But again, everybody can get all that news everywhere else. But I just want to say before we get into our next little segment here, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, my name is Anthony Irvin, aka Spoken Life, and you are watching Table Talk. This is episode 30, and we have Steve Scott from the Word66 tonight, and he is the guitarist and co-founder of the band. And for the first time tonight, guys, we are not only broadcasting on my Facebook and Twitch page, we are also broadcasting live from the Word66 Facebook page. Thank you to Restream Pairs. So thank you to Restream for being able to have that little feature for us. And if you guys are interested in, if you guys are any live streamers that are watching out there, feel free to make a Restream account and check out the Pairs feature. And it seems like a pretty cool feature that you can be able to share and pair different people's guests' social medias, so that it seems like it can be able to bring a lot more pages together, so then you don't have to be telling everybody to crowd into one source. So it's cool. So we're broadcasting on both our pages. So if anybody's watching this now or on a later time, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you guys are sharing and following the show. I really appreciate it. And make sure you guys check out the bonus footage that comes out right after the episode tonight. And if you're watching at a later time, it's already available. So make sure you click the links for the Patreon account and sign up today, guys. So, Steve, let's get into one of the Table Talk segments I like to call the Table Talk Spin Wheel. So we are going to spin the Table Talk Spin Wheel. And for those who do not know, and it's kind of hard, I try to describe this for the people that are watching later as well. So we have a spin wheel here, and it has 3 different topics. And we have a top 5, a little game show called This or That, and then a regular topic question. So we're going to spin this wheel, and whatever topic it comes up with, that's our segment that we are going to do tonight. So let's spin this wheel.
It reminds me of, remember Mad Max, Thunderdome?
I don't.
Oh, you didn't see that? Well, they had this thing where they spun the wheel, and they say, spin the wheel and face the deal.
That's awesome. But yeah, so we got a topic question tonight, and I don't have one ready because usually we don't get topic question. This is we hadn't had topic question on the show. It's usually either top 5 or this or that. So for a topic question, Steve, let's go with a topic question of, let me get the wheel out of the way so we can both see each other. So a topic question tonight, I'm trying to think. So we were talking about influential, people when it comes to, our songwriting and stuff. But who is your most influential person as a musician that keeps you, keeps you inspired, and keeps that flow going to be like, okay, I mean, if you're having a day where you can't really write, you flip on this person or that certain thing, and you're like, okay, I got something. Who's that person or band, whichever?
I would say there's probably a few. Probably the most influential for me is probably Tony Iommi
Nice.
from Sabbath. I
Yeah.
mean, I know he's influenced like billions of
Oh
people.
yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, man, I used to, I would always buy the Sabbath albums and listen to them over and over and over again, man. I had this little ritual. I was a little kid. So I had this ritual where I would sit on the edge of my bed and I would put on the record and I would just kind of sit there and and just kind of groove to the songs, man. I shouldn't have told you that information, probably, but I used to
And
do that with.
we
Yeah,
all we all have those moments.
and so yeah, man, a huge Tony Iommi fan, man. Those chord progressions, those fifths that he would play, man.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it was just so powerful, and just great riffs. So
Oh yeah.
that's probably one of the most influential. As a guitarist, I'm a big fan of Vai, Steve Vai,
Uh-huh.
Satriani, Petitucci,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Jeff Beck.
Nice.
Some of my favorite players, man. So there are times where I'll just kind of put on the YouTube. Usually when I'm working out,
Yeah.
I'll put on the YouTube and try to find some bands or find some concerts and some Christian stuff.
Uh-huh.
I kind of do some Christian sometimes and just mainstream or whatever, just stuff. And sometimes I'll just find stuff randomly,
Uh-huh.
and just go like, oh, okay, maybe some classic rock, players or something like that. And those are probably I'd say, and Priest was probably one of my favorite bands of all time as well.
Uh-huh. Nice, nice. Yeah, like, and all those, I could definitely see a lot of those influences in the EP of, the classic rock vibe that you guys kind of seem like it has that big classic rock influence in there. And, what I think, like I said, the opening track, it just hits you with that power. I'm like, okay. All right, and usually when you think of a Christian band, you don't think usually like heavy hitting guitars and everything. So I'm like, okay, this kind of took me back, but I'm okay. At least it's, and then, getting into the vocals, and I'm like, okay, guy can hold a tune. And, I really dig the whole EP, and you guys really did a good job with it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That's the thing about, as we were saying maybe before, like the whole Christian rock thing is that people don't, like you said, you kind of got taken back by it. But I mean, it's just rock and roll, man. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't tell people we're a Christian rock band, then maybe they won't even notice. Maybe they'll just play the songs and go, oh, these are really cool. And then, you find out later on that.
Yeah, and when you find the lyrics, you're like, oh, okay, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thing that I think is a positive and a negative of what we do.
Uh-huh.
Especially when, as I mentioned, we're getting a ton of radio play and stuff on Christian stations. Even some hardcore stations are playing our stuff.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, I think there's a lot of places that you send it to, and if they see you're a Christian rock band, I don't even think they'll listen to it. Because they probably, they don't know what to expect.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to your Tony Iommi talk, I was actually able to see Tony Iommi on the last final Black Sabbath tour with Ozzy, and it was a last minute thing, and one of my buddies was saying, "Hey, do you want to go see Sabbath tonight?" And had nothing to do. I'm like, yeah, definitely, because I knew they were coming around the final tour, and my dad was a big Tony Iommi fan too, and just seeing him live and I wish I would have seen him in his younger years, but I was definitely a lot younger, or to the point where I wasn't even born. But it was just amazing to see, like you said, one of the more influential guitar players that has inspired a lot of today's musicians, and just see him in his glory of just playing Iron Man and all those other great hits, and War Pig, and it was awesome. And especially Ozzy was really on that night too, because he's getting up there too, and I saw him at Ozfest when he was just Ozzy Osbourne at that point, and I think Black Sabbath was still on their hiatus. But when I started seeing Black Sabbath, at the point I was like, yeah, it would be cool to kind of see them, but I wasn't going to go, above and beyond to get tickets. But then when my buddy hit me up, I'm like, all right, I can't turn this down. And I was definitely so satisfied with being able to see them for their last tour. It was a great show. I don't have any complaints about seeing them. It was a great show.
Yeah, Sabbath is a pretty amazing band, man. I mean, they've accomplished some great stuff, man. And then even you think about the first record, man. I mean, that was back like 70s. I'm thinking
probably, if not
early 70s, maybe even 69 or
I was going to say
like
probably maybe even 69, 68, 69, if not definitely, early 70s.
Right. Yeah, I think that the title, the first one called Black Sabbath, that might have been like 60, like you said, 68, 69.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's
a long time ago.
Yeah, very long time ago. And it's great to see the amount of bands that have come out from this era of bands that were like Sabbath, and you can still hear the music in those bands today, because you can just tell like the guitar tones and the vocalists and everything. So it's cool how after so many years, music can still kind of repeat itself in a way, but still be new and influential, but you still have those old references of like, oh, I remember they kind of sound like this band back in the 80s or 70s, but they have like a new wave of it too. So if it wasn't for the guys that started out, it'd be a very interesting what music would be like today.
Oh yeah, for sure. And actually we have a new track that we're recording now, that's I think pretty Sabbathy-ish.
Very nice. And do you guys have a prediction of when that's going to be out? Or
we're currently in the studio, so the first track is probably going to be at the end of this month.
Okay, all right.
So we're like a few weeks away, and that's mostly due to the fact that we can't get back into the studio to work on the tracks for another couple of weeks or so. So it's just a matter of the studio's availability. So we could have already had some stuff out, but again, it's a really busy studio, and so again, we're going to be back in a couple weeks, and I hope to walk out on that day with at least one track.
Right. Now, do you do the sole songwriting of the band, or is it kind of like all the three you guys just kind of working out ideas, or is it usually just you bringing in a guitar riff and everybody just gravitates off of that? How does the band usually write their songs?
Yeah, pretty much. I write all the lyrics and the music. Nice. And basically I'll just introduce it to the guys, and I kind of have in my head the way things should go. I kind of know how the drums should kind of go. I kind of know how the bass should kind of go. Kind of know how the vocals should be sung. So I just kind of tell the guys, hey, I think let's try this, and I'm hearing this, and then we usually kind of work on stuff and finish the track.
It's really cool when you can, think of something in your head, and then you're like, okay, this is what I'm hearing, and I just not trying to do it in like a a sense of like, hey, this is what you got to do, but like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Can you do it this way? And then when that moment comes and you're hearing what's going on in your head, that's probably the best feeling as a songwriter too. Just especially in a recording phase too. Taking an idea and then you have something of an idea that comes through, and then through the songwriting and recording process, you just finally hear what you were hearing in your head.
And it's amazing, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole process. Most of the times, the stuff that I come up with for the other guys, it's they love it, usually, and then they throw their own little things in there. And like you said, it's one thing to kind of hear it, and then there's one thing to actually hear it. You know what I mean? You hear it in your head, and then you guys, you work on the stuff, and then you're playing it, and then you go like, oh wow, and then you do your demo thing. You do your home Pro Tools recording, and it sounds pretty good, and you go, hey, this is great. And then when you actually bring it into the studio, and then when you work with someone who's a decent producer, and all this different stuff comes out, and then you get the finished product, and then you go like, wow. It started off with just this little thing in my head, this little riff, and now look what we got.
Exactly.
It's pretty awesome, man. It's inspiring.
Yeah, man. And like I said, I really enjoyed listening to the EP. I can't wait to hear more from you guys. Looks like you guys are still banging it out with songs and material. So it looks like 2022 is going to be a pretty big move for you guys, I assume, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking so, man. We're going to probably, from what I am understanding, the label that we're working with right now. So we should have that an album out through Sony probably toward the end of the year, hopefully November-ish, toward December. Excuse me. We're probably going to the EP. We're gonna kind of merge it with the new tracks.
Yeah.
And so we'll probably call it something else, and we'll probably get a different cover, and then all the tracks will be put together for this new record.
Awesome. Do you guys have like a idea for the album name, or is that still just something you're going to wait on?
I have a couple ideas. Excuse me, I have a couple ideas, but
good.
We're still working on it.
Cool. Yeah, man. It's good to kind of see people still working behind the scenes, and music can never really take a break. We can stop the musicians from playing their gigs and everything, but you can't stop the musician from actually playing. You know what I mean?
Very true, and we wouldn't exist without the music as well.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine a life without music. It would be very bland.
Very true, and as far as that new record goes too, I mentioned to you the other day that we're recording a bunch of different stuff. So we're going to record some more hard rock tunes. We've also got a ballad that we're recording. We're going to have some special guests on the record as well.
Nice.
Which is going to be cool. And the ballad, we're hoping to. We have a couple of artists in mind, a couple females, and we're going to hopefully turn this ballad into a duet.
Very nice.
Which would be really cool. And we're bringing in a cellist, acoustic guitar, cellist. So again, that's going to be something different. And then the first track that we're probably going to release is called "Just to Show My Love Is True," and it's kind of like a rock worship tune, basically. So I'm not sure. I don't know if any, probably won't get any radio play on like the metal stations and stuff, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of move it into a different genre as well.
Cool, man. Yeah, looking forward to it all, and all the best with the studio work and everything. And before we kind of wrap this up, I have another little, I guess a little small mini topic question we can lead out of this, because I know we wanted to talk a little bit about gear, but what's your favorite piece of gear that you own as a guitarist?
I have this old Charvel that I use that I bought many, many years ago before they merged with Jackson. So it was a quality guitar. I don't know about nowadays, but that's probably my favorite guitar that I use. And and I have a Marshall stack.
Nice. I do too.
Yeah, the 800 series. So that's takes you back a little ways. So those are probably my favorite pieces.
Nice. Yeah, I would have to say my Marshall stack is definitely one of my fun pieces of equipment that I have. I haven't turned it on in many years, but in my first band, that was something that we wanted to work up to, is being able to be the people that if we wanted to try to make a wow to people, we had to have that stage presence. We had to have the best gear. So me and my other guitar player, we went out and bought Marshall stacks. We would bring them, and we would bring those things to small venues too, and people would be looking at us like, you guys know you're in like a club, right? We're like, we know, like we're about to turn this up to 11.
It's gonna be loud.
It's gonna be, and we love to play loud too. Like we would play like Seek and Destroy, and we would just have like a couple small people doing circle pits in the front, but we would just be playing like we were playing for thousands of people. And it was a fun time. But and other than my Marshall stack, other types of gear that I love, so right now I am doing a lot of live looping at my cover gigs. So I love doing that, because then it also makes me feel that I have a full band behind me, but it's me, myself, and I.
Right.
And I gotta say, the best piece of gear, electric wise, because I run a guitar, a Godin or Godin A6 Ultra, and it's a hybrid style guitar that you can run an electric and acoustic. It has a acoustic pickup and a electric magnetic pickup on it, so I'm able to run a amp simulator, which is my Atomic Amplifier 6. It's an amp modeler that I can just go from having a sound from like a Fender Twin all the way up to like a Mesa Boogie. So I can, create any type of sound, any type of weird, clean sound, to like a dirty, clean, whatever you name it. And for my acoustic stuff, I run it through a TC Helicon Play Acoustic. And that's basically a vocal and a guitar processor. So I run all my, vocal harmonies and acoustic guitar properties through. And so two of my best, effects pedals, I guess you can say, on my board. And I was never much of a pedal board guy in my early days, and I was always like, I'd rather just go straight into the amp and hit that. But then I have a whole full pedal board with me now, so I'm like a full 180 of what I believed in when I was a kid.
I've got some old rack mount gear that I use every now and then as well, but it's kind of a pain to hook up. And then I've got the pedal board as well, So a lot of times I leave that home. But it's got some cool sounds in there, man, and it's kind of some vintage gear that I don't think you could find anymore.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are, definitely, keepsakes. They're like ones that are like either, they don't make them anymore, or the vintage things. My dad has a Marshall Blues Drive pedal that they stopped actually making, and actually, John Mayer is, I think, one of the last people that actually bought that Marshall Blue. It's a Marshall Blues Drive, I believe. I forget the actual name. I'll have to look it up, and I'll tell you after the show. But John Mayer was a a lover of this one before he got into a lot of other overdrives, but he used that Marshall blues drive a lot. So I did some, deep searching, and, I'm a big John Mayer fan, so that was pretty cool to know that, one of the pedals that I was using was recommended by him. So, yeah.
I like John Mayer as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been getting into a lot more of his music over the last couple of years since I was getting more serious into guitar and, learning more music theory and being able to understand the theory behind guitar. And, then I was able to really dissect into John Mayer's playing. And, my biggest influence, which a lot of people know through the show, is Jimi Hendrix. And, being able to dissect his music too is just like, it's mind-boggling how creative these guys are, and the way that their thought process is. And, you just think you're hitting a couple chords and you're making a couple noises, but then when you get into the theory of it, you're like, oh, that's how he connects that and how this connects. And you're like, light bulbs just start going off.
You see the genius.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing. And, I really love the new album that he came out with. And, it's different from what he usually puts out. But, again, it's something for a guy that is just going to say, I'm going to just throw an 80s song, full 80s EP out there, and you guys are going to like it. And you know what? I loved it. And he did it pretty damn well.
You talking about Hendrix?
I wish. But the
does he have a new album out?
Whatever. He probably has more albums that we know from all his recording sessions.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even the live session tapes are gold. The stuff that never really got out, the B-sides of stuff, and even the B-sides of tracks that he came out with. But then the takes that he probably didn't put out, I'm like, you should have just put out those. But it's unfortunate. They're just going to keep racking in money and just drilling that estate until they can just put out nothing more.
And probably the same for Van Halen as well. I mean, the guy's probably got albums and albums of material recorded that nobody's ever heard before.
Oh yeah, and that's I mean, I'm sure they'll probably put some things together for him, and same thing with Prince. And I think he was a god when it came to songwriting as well. And I never knew how much he wrote for other people until his unfortunate passing. And then you get all he used to do this and he used to do that. The 1989 Batman movie, I knew he did the actual, song in there, but I didn't know he wrote the full score to that movie. I'm like, wow, that guy is a workhorse.
I didn't know that either. No.
And he just a lot of the stuff. And one of the things, they don't necessarily say it's by Prince, but he was the one that, here, I'm going to write this, and then I'm just going to give it to this guy because I feel he might be able to, take it to the next level. So he's writing for everybody else. And, that's just an amazing musician to me that can not only write for yourself, but can write something and then give it to somebody else because he thinks that they'll be able to do good on this song. So you're writing for other people. That's a different type of, musicianship that that not many people get to really experience.
Yeah, most people, when they write their music, they really don't want anybody else to do it,
Yeah. And thinking of the fact that, you're writing for yourself, but then trying to write, if I'm thinking, I'm going to write something for Justin Timberlake, what do I think Justin Timberlake might like? And you have to have that type of mindset to be like, okay, well, here you go, and sit down on something, and let me send this to him, and he's going to like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, guys, for anybody who is tuning in now or at a later time watching this on the podcast, my name is Anthony Irvin, aka Spoken Life. I'm your host. This is Table Talk episode 30, and I'm here with my special guest tonight, Steve Scott of the Word66. He is the guitarist and co-founder. and I had a wonderful time talking with you, Steve, and I had a wonderful time getting to meet you. Thank you for messaging me, and I had an awesome time talking with you and about the band. I wish you guys all the luck, and keep in touch. I would love to have you guys on again when some more music comes out, and we can do a part 2 of this.
Sounds great, Anthony. I really appreciate you having me on. And of course, if anybody wants to check out more information about the band, it's just the Word66.com. You can find out, that's our website, and find out some more information. And of course, we're on all the social platforms, and our music is on all the platforms out there as well.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out the latest album. Steve, do you want to plug the latest album again one more time?
It's called On the Way to the Promised Land. It's an EP, and as mentioned, we're in the studio right now, and we will have a new album out very shortly, probably in the next month or two, hopefully, and a bunch of cool new tracks, man, all kinds of different stuff. So I hope everybody enjoys it, and thanks for listening, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. This has been Table Talk. We will see you on the next episode, guys. Have a great week.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.